3 nights ago, my own son asked me to leave the house I built with my hands. I thought the hardest day of my life was the day I lost my wife. But I was wrong. The hardest day was the day my son looked at me like I was a stranger. My name is Leonard Briggs. I am 65 years old, and until recently, I believed my life was simple. I lived in a small wooden house at the edge of a quiet town. The house was not beautiful, but every nail and every wall carried my memories. I built that house with my own hands when I was 28 years old. Back then, my wife Clara stood beside me, holding blueprints and smiling like the future was already bright. Clara believed in me even when I had nothing. She used to say, "Leonard, a house is not made of wood. It is made of love." For many years, our house was full of laughter. Our son, Daniel, was born 2 years after we moved in. He was a curious child. He loved climbing trees and asking questions about everything. When he was small, he followed me everywhere. If I fixed a chair, he watched. If I planted flowers, he helped. Sometimes he sat quietly beside me and said, "Dad, when I grow up, I want to be just like you." Oh, those were the happiest words I ever heard. But life changes in ways we cannot control. Clara became sick when Daniel was 16. The doctors tried everything, but her illness was stronger. The night she passed away, Daniel cried in my arms like a little boy again. From that day, it was just the two of us. I worked harder than ever. During the day, I repaired houses. At night, I cooked dinner and tried to be both father and mother to my son. Years passed. Daniel grew into a man. He studied business in the city and later returned home with a new dream. "I want to start my own company," he told me proudly. I supported him without hesitation. I sold my old truck to help him start. I used my savings to pay for his office. And when he failed the first time, I told him not to give up. Eventually, his business succeeded. Daniel became a respected businessman in our town. When he got married to a woman named Melissa, I welcomed her warmly. She was intelligent and confident. At first, everything seemed peaceful, but slowly, I noticed small changes. Melissa did not like the old house. She said it was too small, too old, too simple. One evening during dinner, she looked around the room and said, "Daniel deserves a better life than this." I laughed softly and replied, "This house raised him." But Melissa did not smile. Weeks later, Daniel came to speak with me. "Dad," he said carefully, "Melissa wants us to move to a bigger place in the city." "That sounds wonderful," I answered. But then he hesitated. "And she thinks it might be better if you didn't come with us." The words felt like cold wind through my chest. I tried to stay calm. "This is your house now," I told him. "You don't have to worry about me." But Daniel shook his head. "No, Dad. Actually, Melissa thinks we should sell this house." For a moment, I could not speak. This house was not just property. It was my entire life. Every memory of Clara lived inside these walls. Still, I forced a small smile. "If selling it makes your life better," I said quietly, "then do what you think is right." That night, I sat alone on the porch for a long time. The wind moved softly through the trees, and for the first time in years, I felt truly alone. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Silent Stories for more emotional journeys. The next morning, Daniel came to me again. His face looked tense. "Dad," he said, avoiding my eyes, "Melissa wants the house sold immediately." "How soon?" I asked. "This week." I looked at him carefully. "This house means nothing to you anymore?" I asked gently. Daniel stayed silent. Then he whispered something I never expected. "She says if I don't choose, she might leave me." Those words explained everything. My son was not choosing between comfort and family. He was choosing between love and fear. I walked slowly through every room of the house that afternoon. I touched the old kitchen table Clara once used. I looked at the doorframe where we marked Daniel's height every year. And finally, I stood in the living room where Clara once told me our house was built from love. That evening, I called Daniel and Melissa to the living room. "I have made a decision," I told them calmly. Melissa looked relieved immediately, but Daniel looked worried. "I will sell the house," I said. Melissa smiled, but before she could speak, I added something unexpected. "There is just one thing you should know." Daniel frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" I opened a small wooden box and placed it on the table. Inside were documents. Clara and I signed many years ago. The house was never mine alone, I explained. It belonged to Clara and me together. Daniel looked confused. "And when she passed away," I continued softly, "her half was transferred to someone else." "Who?" Daniel asked. I looked directly into his eyes. "Your daughter." Daniel's face turned pale. "What?" "Yes," I said gently. "Clara wanted our granddaughter to always have a home, even if life became difficult." Melissa's smile disappeared. "That means," Daniel whispered, "it means the house cannot be sold without her permission." Silence filled the room. Finally, Daniel sat down slowly. Tears filled his eyes. "Dad, I didn't know." "I know," I answered softly. After a long moment, he stood up and walked toward me. "I'm sorry," he said with a shaking voice. "You built this home. You protected me my entire life, and I almost took it away from you." I placed my hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes people forget where they come from," I told him kindly, "but remembering is always possible." That night, Melissa packed her bags and left. I did not celebrate her departure. I only hoped she would someday understand what family truly means. Today, Daniel still lives here with me. Sometimes in the evening, we sit together on the porch and watch the sunset. And every time I hear my granddaughter laughing in the yard, I remember Clara's words. A house is not made of wood. It is made of love. And love should never be sold.